Hello. Today I'm not in my workshop. In fact, I'm on the back porch, but I am making something. Look, I found this really cool leaf, and it's like the skeleton of a leaf. You can see here, this part I haven't started on yet. I don't know how this happens. Is it bugs that eat the green parts and leave the veins and stuff behind, or decomposition? I'm not sure, but it's very cool. I love it when I find leaves like this. And this is the biggest leaf I found like this. It's like as big as my hand. So what I'm doing, and I got real excited and started on this before I remembered that I wanted to film it. So that's why it's half done. But you can see it is so fragile because it's just these tiny little fine lines on the leaf. I want to preserve it and keep its natural beauty, but also make it stronger. So what I'm doing, and you can see I've done half of it so far, is I'm coating it in UV resin. This is the same stuff, more or less, that they use for gel fingernails, if you're familiar with that. It comes in a bottle and is UV activated. So that's actually why I'm doing it outside, because it's a semi-sunny day and the sun will actually start to harden it even as I'm putting it on. It does not take long. 90 seconds and it's hard as a rock under direct sunlight. Takes a little bit longer under partly cloudy sun, but so what I'm doing is I'm just kind of using my little bottle of resin here and trying to do just a really thin coat. I don't want it dripping or anything, but enough to cover it and to fill in all the little gaps. Yep. And then as I'm applying it, it's actually already starting to harden and dry, and that way it doesn't drip down in a way. If I were to use a 2-part epoxy resin, which takes hours to dry, I could paint it on, but then it would, if I hung it like this to dry, it would all just drip off and puddle at the bottom. But because this starts to harden almost immediately after it comes out and hits the sunlight, then it doesn't drip, especially if I do a really thin coat. Now, if I'm working on something, usually when I'm working on something with UV resin, I do it inside in a bathroom that doesn't have any windows. So there's no UV light whatsoever. So I've got as much time as I want to work with it. And then I use a little UV light to harden it once I'm ready. And I probably will put this under the UV light once I'm done, just to make sure it's all the way hardened up, because we aren't going to be getting much more sunlight today because it's late afternoon. You can start to see where it's been coated, and then this section here that hasn't been yet. And it's not perfect. It doesn't, look like perfect glass or anything, but I think it's pretty cool. And I think it'll be pretty, maybe hanging in a window or something, I'm not sure, or maybe just on a shelf as part of a display. I love fall. It's become my favorite season, especially now that I'm living in Florida, because fall is the beginning of our beautiful weather. We have the most wonderful winters here. It's comfortable outside pretty much all winter. Our summers can be miserably hot, but the winters are so nice. And so fall is the beginning of that cool down. We start to have cool mornings and evenings. And so I always look forward to fall. I also love Halloween and fall arts and crafts of all types. So while you do find these leaves all year long, because even in the summer, leaves die and new leaves grow, but still something about these skeletal leaves speaks to me of fall, perhaps even more so than the colored leaves of fall, since we don't get much of that down here. All right, so that's pretty much done. I did put it on a little bit thicker up here, which is where I will, once it's done, drill a hole so that I can hang it. Looks like we do have a few drops coming off, so I'm going to wipe those off because I don't want them on the finished thing. But also, if any drops do end up hardening, they can be cut off with scissors or an X-Acto knife. I've also got just a little bit of gold foil. Well, it's not gold, but gold colored foil that I've just kind of put some tiny little crumbs of it on. I had it left over from another project I was working on. And so just a few little glitters bits here and there. I know, I kind of now wish that I put more on because it's pretty cool looking, but I can always go back and add some. All right, so I'm gonna let that harden up here in the sun and then put it under a UV light to make sure it's all the way hard. And when it's done, I'll take a picture of it so you can see how the finished thing looks. All right, and once again, that's UV resin. I don't know anything about this brand over other brands. I get it on Amazon.